In my Force Unleashed and Driver San Francisco videos, I talked about how the Wii's hardware and controls led to a lot of third-party publishers skipping the Wii or creating a new game with the same name. When the major release did come to the Wii, changes were made to fit the system's constraints. Call of Duty got the benefit of motion controls at the cost of missing content and downgraded visuals. The first Rock Band's Wii port was just the PS2 version slapped onto a Wii disc, while Rock Band 2 and 3's Wii ports were more faithful to their HD big brothers. Then there's Dead Rising. The original Dead Rising is a lightning in a bottle game. To bring it to the Wii, a system once described as two GameCubes duct taped together, sounds impossible, but developer Toast Software found a way.
Fantastic!
Released in 2009, Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop is a reimagining of the 360 original. The base game is the same, but everything else surrounding it is different. When it was announced, a lot of people wondered why Capcom would put Dead Rising on the Wii, especially since the weaker hardware meant there would be a smaller zombie count. When Chop Till You Drop released, it was met with mixed reviews. I picked up Chop Till You Drop in the 360 original when I was 17. Immediately after being the original, I dove right into the Wii version. Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop is weird. It's a strange amalgamation of two games that succeeds in bringing Dead Rising to the Wii at the cost of losing some of the original's magic.
Here she is. Willamette, Colorado. Population 53,594. Distinguishing characteristics, jack shit.
You play as Frank West, a freelance photojournalist who learns about something going on in Willamette, Colorado. He ends up at the town's mall and discovers there's been a zombie outbreak. Frank has 3 days to uncover the truth behind the outbreak and get out alive.
So do I have your permission to cover this story? Or not?
Dead Rising's story and characters are kept intact, but the game's pacing and structure have been tweaked. For example, after the military arrives, the game fast forwards to Brock's introduction, followed by Frank's departure to the helipad. Otherwise, the story is the same and it's a solid tale filled with conspiracy, intrigue, and social commentary. At its core, this is Dead Rising. You can use anything and everything to kill zombies, plus save survivors and defeat psychopaths to get that sweet, sweet pee-pee. Willamette Mall is here, albeit with some environmental changes, and several secrets have been preserved. The katana on the awning in Paradise Plaza is present, as are the PP environmental bonuses.
There's, something else I can't put my finger on. Doesn't sound like civil disobedience. It's too quiet.
What makes Chop Till You Drop so different is its design and structure. Instead of a 1-to-1 recreation, it's more of a 1-to-2 recreation, one that uses the framework of another popular Capcom franchise as its foundation. The game structure is less open and more linear. Instead of freely exploring a zombie-infested mall, you accept missions by talking to Otis the janitor. Once all missions are complete, you can proceed to the next case. The only time you can explore the mall is during cases.
What gives?
By scaling back the sandbox, it removes the freedom of choice the original Dead Rising presented. You can tackle missions in any order you please, and by making it linear, it makes the action repetitive because you're going back and forth between the mall and safe house.
Do you have any idea what you've done?
One of the game's biggest changes is the removal of the time limit. Outside of a few cases, there's no clock to worry about. You can explore the mall at your own leisure and take solace knowing the next case won't expire. Because of this, all the alternate endings are absent, and the main game and overtime are lumped together. During survivor missions, a timer keeps track of how long you take to beat a mission. At the end, you earn a rank based on your time, the amount of damage taken, and how many zombies were killed. The higher the rank, the better the rewards. It's oddly satisfying to try and go for the best rank possible, if only to see what cool stuff you unlock. Otis rewards Frank with all sorts of goodies including free weapons, new outfits, and bundles of cash. No joke, I got a 50 cal machine gun for saving an old lady.
I've covered wars, you know.
The controls in combat have been overhauled. Chop Till You Drop runs on the Resident Evil 4 engine, and it shows. Frank has Leon's tank-like movement, and zombies can be stunned by shooting them in the head or knee, leaving them vulnerable to a melee finisher. On the plus side, aiming is much smoother since you can point and shoot at zombies using the almighty Wii Remote. Chop Till You Drop puts a bigger emphasis on gunplay. While it retains the anything and everything is a weapon concept, there are fewer items to use, and aside from throwables, you can't store melee items in Frank's inventory. What's stranger is the decision to include Resident Evil 4's guns. Every firearm from RE4 is here, including the Red 9, Blacktail, Striker Shotgun, the Riot Gun, and the TMP. These guns and more can be bought from Cletus, a psychopath you fought in the original. Instead of dying at the hands of a zombie, you save him and in return, he lets you buy guns and other items. It's surreal seeing Frank wield these iconic guns, all of which retain their original animations. Their inclusion also makes the boss fights a joke because you can just shoot them dead in less than a few minutes. Moments like this make Chop Till You Drop feel less like Dead Rising and more like Resident Evil 4 Dead Rising Edition.
Using a firearm for self-defense is our God-given right as Americans, Thomas.
One thing I'll give credit to Chop Till You Drop for is its quality of life improvements. As I said earlier, the shooting controls are leagues better, but now there are multiple save slots, so you don't have to worry about accidentally saving yourself into a corner. The difficulty curve is way less steep. The multiple save slots, combined with the removal of the time limit and other features, makes this version more forgiving than the original. Additional improvements include larger text during dialogue exchanges and Osa's transmission calls pausing the gameplay instead of continuing in real time. The former sounds trivial, but the original Dead Rising was infamous for its tiny text. If you didn't own HD television, you could barely make out the text, meaning those with a CRT TV had no idea what the characters were talking about. Making the text larger mitigates the confusion.
Zombies are stupid and slow.
Now to discuss Chop Till You Drop's most infamous change, the zombie count. The original's large zombie horde solidified Dead Rising as a next-gen game. Navigating a sea of zombies was incredibly tense and thrilling. In Chop Till You Drop, the zombie apocalypse has become a zombie inconvenience. Instead of hundreds of zombies, there are anywhere from 10 to 20 zombies at a time. The ridiculously short draw distance means new zombies are always fading in. This makes Chop Till You Drop much more of a cakewalk because you can run by most zombies and mop the floor with them by using the trusty shotgun. At least the fewer zombies means escorting survivors is less tedious. To compensate for the lower zombie count, Toast introduced special zombies. Brace yourselves, it gets weird. So remember the poodle from the intro? Well, apparently Willamette's dog population consists only of poodles because these guys are everywhere. They move fast and will stay on your ass no matter what. Willamette also has a parrot problem as there are zombified parrots that will dive bomb you, and they know how to drop grenades. Toast also zombified some of the psychopaths. Cliff, Joe, and Kent are now special zombies. They show up at different intervals in the game and can throw a wrench into your plans if you're not careful. As ridiculous as it is seeing classic Dead Rising psychopaths as zombies, I like it. It catches veteran players off guard and highlights this game's unpredictability. Because Kent is a zombie, his story arc is absent, as is the photography mechanic. Frank always has his camera on him, but he doesn't use it outside of cutscenes and a certain mission. Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop doesn't skimp on the replay value. There are several secret costumes and weapons to unlock during the game. Beating the game doesn't unlock Infinity Mode, instead it unlocks minigames called Odd Jobs and Second Amendment. Odd Jobs put Frank in random situations. You may have to clear a room full of zombies using a soccer ball or ride a bicycle through an obstacle course. Second Amendment tests Frank's marksmanship through a series of challenges. This might be controversial, but I enjoy these minigames more than the original's Infinity Mode. I like how wacky they are, and how they make creative use of the game's mechanics. Beating each minigame and challenge with an S rank unlocks the Mega Buster and Z Saber.
Can't really blame her for running from a guy with your looks.
Dead Rising's visuals are hit and miss. The Willamette Mall looks the same, though some stores and several paths have been blocked off, the latter of which forces you to take certain routes. The character models are passable, but the short draw distance isn't. It takes you out of the experience as you watch zombies fade in and out of existence. All the cutscenes are video files, so no matter what Frank wears, he'll always wear his default outfit during cinematics. The sound design is solid. The game retains the original voice acting and music, and it sounds great. Plus, there's something charming about hearing sounds like swinging an item or shooting a gun emanate from the Wii Remote speaker.
Zombies. I still can't believe all this, you know?
Is Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop better than the original? No. Is it fun? Yes. Make no mistake, this is an inferior version of Dead Rising. Its design is more linear and doesn't give you as much freedom of choice. There's no time limit, the game is easy peasy, and it shamelessly lifts animations and content from Resident Evil 4. To compensate for the lower zombie count, Toast added a short draw distance and a never-ending supply of Poodles and Parrots.
I try. You got a point.
It may be the lesser version, but it has its own indescribably weird charm. Even with all the changes, this is still Dead Rising, albeit in 480p. Toast preserves as much of the original as possible, and though the changes are unusual, they're also hilarious. I had fun laughing at how they reimagined key moments and bosses, like the convicts, which plays out like a loose remake of the Resident Evil 4 boulder chase. Seeing my hockey mask wearing Frank strangle the life out of a convict was way more hilarious than I anticipated. If this was your introduction to the first Dead Rising, I can see how you might prefer this version over the original. It may have fewer zombies, but it does have several quality of life adjustments that make this version more forgiving than its HD big brother. It's got multiple save slots, difficulty options, and lets you kill zombies using the Wii Remote, which is an A+ in my book. From a professional standpoint, Dead Rising Chopped Drop is at best a 5 out of 10, but for its ambition and general wackiness, it gets a 6 out of 10.